20 Democratic presidential hopefuls will be taking the stage in the first primary debate spread out over 2 nights.
Yeah, 10 of the 2020 candidates, including Governor Jay Inslee, face off tonight, and it is going to be a crowded stage, which can make it challenging for any one candidate really to steal the show. So we do want to bring in Brandy Cruz this morning for Governor Inslee. What is going to be the key to having a successful night tonight?
Governor Inslee needs to be true to himself, true to his personality, true to his climate change agenda. He needs to sell it convincingly to the American people. But at the same time, for lack of a better phrase, he needs to avoid kind of shoving it down their throats. As much as he probably thinks there are people in this country who need it, what the governor really needs to do is avoid kind of shoehorning his climate agenda into every single answer that he gives. And look, you know, the governor does believe that climate change is not a single issue, that it factors into jobs and the economy and even national security. But if every answer he's finding a way to get his climate agenda in, remember, he's trying to appeal to a very diverse American populace. And you might have people who sort of start to tune out, like, oh, that's the climate change guy, and aren't fully listening to his answers. But I will say, you know, we expect him to really stick to climate change tonight for the most part when it makes sense. The governor has been in Miami in the couple days leading up to this debate, and he even tweeted. He said, a lot of people wondering how I'm preparing for the debate tomorrow. I'm in Miami listening to people on the front lines of the climate crisis. And look, when those moments come, when the governor is inevitably asked a question about climate change, which you have to imagine comes up tonight, he can run circles around anyone. He can talk circles around anyone on an issue that has been at the forefront of his political career for years. So when those moments come, he has an opportunity to shine, but he needs to make sure that when climate change doesn't quite fit into the question, don't shove it in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, I guess you need to take the time and you need to do it quickly because these, these people don't have very long to talk.
Succinct point.
Yes,
succinct
exactly.
point.
Clear and concise. Now we know that Joe Biden is the front runner. He's not at tonight's debate. He'll be at tomorrow's. So are the candidates still going to go after him?
It would be a mistake to do that. There's a lot of people who have painted tonight's debate as sort of the kids' table or the undercard debate. It was never intended to be that way, but you have a lot of the front runners who are taking the stage tomorrow. It would be a detriment to especially some of the candidates on stage, like Governor Inslee, who are so far behind in the polls, to continue to bring up Joe Biden, who, trust me, is going to get plenty of attention night 2. That being said, you will see and hear some veiled references to Joe Biden. You are going to hear candidates talk about the Democratic Party of the past, how it's time to move forward. Those are direct references to Joe Biden. You might even hear Cory Booker take at least one direct sort of launch at the former vice president when it comes to the debate over reparations, for instance. But for the most part, it would be wise for these candidates to let Joe Biden have his moment in the spotlight tomorrow and to keep tonight for themselves.
Yeah, and a lot of this has to do with positioning of the podiums on the stage. It's a crowded stage. There's a lot of podiums, so where you're positioned also plays into this in terms of, you know, camera time and so forth. Who do you see having a standout night?
Well, there's a couple people who I think have the potential or who really need it. Beto O'Rourke, for instance, he was, as we've talked about, a Democratic darling. A lot of people thought he was a shoo-in if he'd enter the race. He's lost momentum. Let's see if he can get it back tonight. Also, Elizabeth Warren. You know, she's the one person on the stage who is not really struggling in the polls. I mean, of course, Joe Biden is so far ahead. She has a very strong point of view. She is considered to be sort of the adult at the so-called kids' table tonight. And so look for her to have a good night. But also, I would say Cory Booker. If we're going to have the one candidate on the stage who's going to be more aggressive, who's going to try to really make those, deliver those lines that steal a lot of the press attention after the fact, look for that to be Cory Booker. I think he's going to try very hard to sort of maximize his speaking time during the debate. But for all of these candidates, this is a make or break night. The threshold to make the fall debates is higher. Many of the candidates in the Democratic field, as of right now, are not going to qualify for those fall debates. So tonight is sink or swim. They need to maximize their time, focus on making their pitches to the American people. Don't get distracted. And for the love of all things holy, if you focus on Joe Biden, it's going to be to your own detriment.
All right, Brandy, thank you.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Q13.